Lyon 2, Manchester United 2. A late equaliser for Lyon stops Manchester United winning in France. I'm joined by Stephen Howson. Steve, we've got to start with Onana. It's the main talking point. He's the guy everyone's talking about. First goal, definitely on him. Second goal, probably on him as well. It's just not good enough from Andre Onana, is it?
No, and it comes on the back of putting himself in the firing line with his comments this week, and almost even making it worse by like apologizing and clarifying. I'd have so much more respect if he went, "Yeah, I said that shit," and just owned it. Like, goalkeepers have to be a little bit nutty, and they have to be a little bit overconfident and probably delusional to a greater or lesser degree because of, there was players that made mistakes there tonight. There was players that gave the ball away that led to chances. When goalkeepers do it, it's catastrophic. And you can't be having two in a game. Like, you can have one in a month.
Yeah.
You can't really have two in 90 minutes.
No. Do you think he's done at United? Not necessarily tonight or he'll never play again, but do you see a way where he's part of the future at United?
I do, but I also think that that opinion's waning. And, obviously it's Amorim that's going to have the final say, I presume, on how wanted he is at the football club going forward. But I will say his form lately has been shocking. Coming out and saying that the way he's come out and said that this week, following that up with a poor performance. Goalkeepers, as much as strikers, trade on confidence and it has to resonate through the team in a positive sense. You can't have goalkeepers taking away confidence from your team as a negative, and I feel like he could be finished at United because of this week. Like, it can end up being something like obviously it matters how he reacts to it. It obviously matters how Amorim reacts to it. It obviously matters how they, as a pair, react to it. If Amorim comes in and he laughs about it with him, which seems like an emotion that you might not be able to have at the moment, but I think you'd be surprised. If they're able to like go, that was a fuck up, probably unadvised, ill-advised. Let's move past that because I like this, and this about your game. But we can work on, especially some of those drop balls. He's had a few of those this season. On top of a few last season. His shot stopping was excellent last season, outside of the Champions League, for whatever reason that was. But in the league, his shot stopping was like, I think it was like literally the first or second best in the league in terms of his shot stopping abilities. This year, that isn't the case. For whatever reason that is, it's just different. And that's nothing to do with the volume of shots, because actually I think we're having a lot less shots. I mean, Jesus Christ, the volume of shots that we had towards last year, we was giving Everton 20 fucking shots. Like, it's actually unfathomable the amount of shots that we were giving up last year. Okay, a lot of them might have been from range, but the point stands. The number of shots we were giving away was outrageous, and it's a shame because we had looked like we'd started to turn a corner a little bit. Like, I was literally sitting there thinking tonight, we look like we're a bit harder to beat than we were a couple of months ago. We're not necessarily keeping clean sheets. Some people will be like, yep, that's fucking Onana for you, but it's not just Onana that. But we're managing to get maybe just enough goals to get some over the line, especially in Europe. It seems like we know how to score a goal in Europe. We certainly know how to create chances in Europe. And they think that little bit of green shoot of positivity that we could have had, getting the job half done tonight, pretty much making us favourites to reach a semi-final in a season that is like absolute disaster. What a fucking touch of luck that'd be. And then in the 97th fucking minute, something like that, just why are we letting a fucking shot bounce off us there? Just hold it or fucking send it into Rosette, like. Madness.
And it is, like you said, you mentioned the Champions League last season. It's a sort of another cup competition that may well go, to be fair to Onana, I mean, not to be fair to Onana, looking at the larger picture, bringing a draw to Old Trafford if we don't get that over the line and Onana doesn't make any mistakes, we still should have got through. We should be able to beat Lyon at Old Trafford. But if there's another mistake, or if it's a close game and we end up going out on penalties, that's games like tonight. That could be 2 European competitions in 2 years that Onana has had a big hand in us going out in. And it is just a massive worry, in it. And like you said, he seems to crumble under pressure rather than rise into it. And when you talk about the confidence in the squad and the confidence that the goalkeeper emits, it's negative at the minute from Onana. And there's a point where, and I know obviously you're not Maguire's biggest fan.
And you know what? The second one wasn't that bad.
No, exactly. Yeah, it wasn't.
The first one was a fucking clanger.
Yeah, it was. And there's a point where Onana was going down to get the ball, and Maguire swept in front of him and cleared the ball out. And Onana was shouting at Maguire in the back and forth, and Maguire probably should have listened. And this, and that. But you can understand why centre backs at the minute think, I'm not letting the ball get to you. I'm just going to, even if it means booting out for a throw in, I'd rather that than the idea of you letting it through your arms or whatever might happen. It is a big worry. Let's look at the bigger performance and the bigger result then. Were you pleased with how United played? I thought Lyon had a lot of touches inside our 18-yard box, which I didn't like, but that United kept going, made a few chances, like you said. Do you think it was a good performance? Are you seeing growth in the performances generally, or did you think it was poor tonight?
No, that was a shit performance from United, if you're being honest with yourself. I thought it was one that we could have snatched, for sure. And I thought, I just said on my review, it was a bold decision to play with 10 men for an hour. But no one expected us to do that. Once we brought Xerxes on, I actually thought that we looked like we could actually go on and win the game. And I thought even the introduction of Mount, and even though he wasn't on the pitch very long, I thought Mainu really brought like a little bit of an X factor to it. I mean, he obviously had a hand in the second goal. I was nearly going to say the winner, but it wasn't the winner, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But he presses for that, lays it off nice to Bruno. Bruno sends it in. Xerxes heads it home, and you're like, fantastic. Yeah. We've deserved that. Like, we've pushed, we've gambled. We were the better team for that 25, 30-minute period or so. And I thought that was a fucking fantastic way to end the game. Yeah. Wasn't how the game ended. Obviously, we know that. But, like, I was thinking, like, we've done a fucking real good thing here. And actually, a couple of minutes before they actually went and got the equaliser, United were the ones that were pushing for a third. Yeah. We were actually pushing for a third one there, and you could have seen us getting that third one. And what a touch that would have been, taking it back to Old Trafford. 3-1 from the first fucking leg. Mega. Yeah. I mean, a draw's not bad in the grand scheme of things. No. You can see the 97th minute fucking clanger goal. You're sitting there going, fuck's sake, because I'd have took a draw this morning.
Yeah, me too.
But now it don't feel like I want it.
No, now it feels like we've lost. Would you, if you're the manager, would you drop Onana for that second leg?
People are gonna say, play Bayindir, he can't be much worse. He fucking can, right? And that's the problem with goalkeepers, is like they're not just like 1% or 2% better or worse. They can be 25%, 30% worse. Yeah. And people are still going to be in the comments being irrational and saying, "Oh, just fucking throw him in." It doesn't work like that. And I don't think there's much in Onana's game at the moment that is keeping him starting. But I think bringing Bayindir in, it'd be an absolute death knell for him. You don't rotate keepers, and there's a reason for that. So you think no matter what, he's got to play? Could you not use the old, he's the cup keeper defence, he played him in the Carabao a few times, or, is everyone would not when he played in the first fucking leg, no. Yeah. It's tough. And he made a clanger in the first leg. Yeah. It's such a hard thing, though, isn't it, at the minute, for Amram. You mentioned about, obviously, alluding to Højlund up front or not playing up front. I know Xerxes came on and did a little bit better, but again, I think the stat flashed up. It was 2 goals in 10 games for him in the Europa this season for Xerxes. You look at the rotation options at the back as well, in the goalkeepers. It's like, yeah, Onana's terrible, but Bayindir was horrific against Tottenham in that game he played. Amram's got a team full of players who aren't quite good enough, and their rotation options aren't really much better either. Do you feel a little bit sorry for Amram, or do you think he knew what he was joining, and you've got to take what you get? It's a little bit of both, isn't it? And it's that same old revisionism. David De Gea had to go because David De Gea was the highest paid goalkeeper in the world, and we weren't getting value for money out of him. And you could argue that you didn't really upgrade that with Onana. And maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. I think there's a debate to be had, especially De Gea's final season. People are looking at the body of work of De Gea and trying to apply that to his final season. That wasn't the case.
Yeah.
He was costing us in his final season, and he was costing us the highest paid goalkeeper in the world. And he ended up going for a free. If you'd have renewed his contract, do you think you'd have been getting him for less money? Like, it would have been for more money. Now, obviously, he's gone to Fiorentina on probably a quarter of what United were paying him because he was fucking unemployed for a whole year. Yeah. Like, the revisionism around De Gea, like, he was an Ed Woodward fuck-up, unfortunately. And he was mismanaged, and he renewed just after we signed Sanchez. Therefore, he was always going to be fucking walking home with a pot of gold. Because anybody, especially when you're like, multiple time fucking player of the year the way he was, you've just signed a player, and on any given day, Sanchez was being paid about 400 million a week, right? So at any given time that you want to walk into Ed Woodward's office holding your Sumat Busby Player of the Year trophy and be like, I'd like to talk about my contract, please, fuckwit. Like, you were going to walk out of there with a load of dough. Now, that was the way of it. And ultimately, to get the club back on a course correct, I think Onana's on about 125 grand a week. Some people are going to comment, far too fucking much. Right, fine, whatever. But ultimately, like, that was a course that had to be corrected.
Right, annoyingly, Steve's internet has dropped out there, but I think we know what he was saying, don't we? Just because Onana's not good enough doesn't mean De Gea was good enough. Get your thoughts in the comments below. Manchester United drawing with Lyon. A decent result, a weird performance. We'll see in a bit.